Today we're going to be talking about the bryophyte life cycle. And the bryophytes have an alternation of generations just like all other plants. Now the bryophytes consist mostly of the mosses. And when you go outside and you look at a moss, what you usually see is the dominant stage. In the dominant stage, the gametophyte looks like little green stubble. That's the dominant phase. So let's go ahead and start there with our life cycle. Now, when I draw the life cycle, I like to put the dominant stage on top. So we'll go ahead and we'll start there. So I'm going to write the male gametophyte. Its ploidy is N, has one set of chromosomes, and we have the female gametophyte. Now, that's going to be the dominant stage. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a little asterisk here, and we'll write dominant stage. Down below, I'm going to write the other stage of the moss life cycle, and that's the sporophyte. So down here we'll write sporophyte. And the sporophyte's always going to be 2N, two copies or two sets of chromosomes. Now the gametophytes are going to make gametes. So I'm going to go ahead and write gametes over here. And they're going to be N. And the sporophyte is going to produce spores. So we'll write our spores over here. And again, spores are, it's a single tough cell. Now, let's go ahead and connect up these various stages here. The male gametophyte and the female gametophyte are going to produce gametes. And this is going to occur through the process of mitosis. So I'm going to write mitosis because we're going from N to N, and that means mitosis. Now the male gametophyte is the sperm. The sperm is N, and the sperm are produced in the plant organ called the antheridia. Or antheridium would be singular. Now it's just not any sperm, but these are actually flagellated sperm. And that's going to be an important distinction because later on when we talk about the gymnosperms and the angiosperms, they have non-flagellated sperm. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write flagellated here. Flagellated sperm. Now for the female gametophyte, that's going to be the egg. Also N. And the eggs are produced in an organ at the very top of the gametophyte, at the very top of that green fleshy plant, and that organ is going to be called an archegonium. Usually the male gametophyte has several antheridia, and the female gametophyte has several archegonium, each producing a single egg. Now our gametes, after they're made, those gametes are going to come together and produce a sporophyte. Now this is going to happen through the process of fertilization. And we've got N plus N. That's going to yield 2N. When these two cells come together, they're going to form a single cell called a zygote. And that zygote is going to be diploid. And that zygote is going to continue to grow into our adult sporophyte. Now before we get too far into this, let's go ahead and draw a picture of the male or female gametophyte. Phenotypically, meaning on the outside, they look pretty much the same. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this. And we're just going to draw a short green stem in a sense with some green buds. And down below, I'm going to put a small root-like structure. This small root-like structure is not actually a true root because all mosses, all your bryophytes, do not contain vascular tissue. That evolved later on with the ferns and the gymnosperms and the angiosperms. So these are going to be rhizoids. Oid means like, humanoid, human-like. In this case, we're talking about root-like. And they are actually long tubular cells. That's what the rhizoids actually are. And they serve a similar function as the roots, to absorb minerals and to absorb water from the soil. Now this entire structure here, the green buds and the rhizoids, is known as the Gametophyte. And up at the top, right around here, at the very top, that's where you're going to find your Antheridia or your Archegonium, whatever the case may be. So it's usually found up here. So we could write Antheridium or Archegonium. And those are the organs that are going to produce the flagellated sperm or the egg. Now, continuing on, our gametes came together through fertilization, produced a sporophyte. And the sporophyte, let's go ahead and draw that picture. And again, I'm going to start by drawing the gametophyte again, just to give us something to compare things to. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my gametophyte. There's my buds again. Here's my rhizoids. Again, this is the gametophyte. And the sporophyte actually grows right out of the top of the gametophyte. So I'm going to draw it coming right out of the top. In fact, it's going to be formed from a fertilized egg. And this fertilized egg is actually produced in the Archegonium, which is located right here. So that's where our sporophyte is going to grow out of. And it grows up, 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 curls around, and we've got a nice spore capsule right at the top. And this whole structure here is going to be called the sporophyte. And eventually what's going to happen is this spore capsule is going to break open and release the spores out into the environment. They're going to be taken by the wind, and when they fall in a suitable habitat, that's where they're going to germinate and grow into the next generation. But the sporophyte actually depends on the gametophyte for food and for water and for minerals. So it is actually dependent on the gametophyte here. Next, our sporophyte is going to produce spores. And again, we're going from 2N to N, so that's going to happen through the process of meiosis. And then our spores are going to give rise to the male and female gametophyte depending upon their genotypes. And that is going to be it for the bryophyte life cycle.